Greetings. Thanks to everyone for coming to our group author reading. This reading is brought to you by Strong Women, Strange Worlds, which is a group of authors supporting authors. Our mission is to elevate the voices of women and non-binary authors of science fiction, fantasy, and horror through events like our bi-monthly virtual Quick Reads. You can find out more about Strong Women, Strange Worlds in the handout we've provided in the chat and by visiting our website, a link to which will be added to the chat at strongwomenstrangeworlds.weebly.com. I'd also like to take a moment to thank those who have made a tip jar donation. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you. I'm your host today, Sarah Smith, and you can find out more about me in the provided handout as well. Please note that recording of this session by the audience is not allowed, and recording of electronic communications in general, including Zoom meetings and webinars without permission, is illegal. You'll have a chance to see these again because we'll be posting them. Today, we'll be featuring 5 authors: Aimee Kuzenski, Lauren C. Teffeau, Lauren Bolger, M.L. Dumars, and K. Malady. Our 6th author unfortunately had to cancel, but we'll get her back at another event. Each author today will have 8 minutes to read. Ready? Here we go. Our first reader is Aimee Kuzenski. Aimee Kuzenski is a speculative fiction author and practitioner of Filipino martial arts. In the wider speculative fiction community, she's a graduate of Viable Paradise and a board member with the 4th Street Fantasy Convention. Her latest novel, Seeds of Inheritance, is available anywhere books are sold. Aimee, take it away.
This is from Chapter 2, set on the elven space elevator called the Lily Pad. Berenike closed her eyes and breathed deeply. She needed to calm down before putting herself back in Theodora's orbit. As she inhaled, a thin tendril of scent touched her nostrils, sharp and organics twining around each other in a dance that stopped her heart. The chemical signature of an explosive, one she'd taught Omer to mix years ago. The rebels were attacking. Without thought or word, Berenike launched herself at Evrim. The robe made her motion ox-clumsy, and they both went down in a heap of flailing limbs. Evrim's surprised squawk was smothered by a fold of fabric. "Mother, what?" There was a great crack across the concourse, a sound like the fall of a tree branch in a storm. The world went silent, but for a high-pitched ringing in Berenike's ears. The shock wave followed a fraction of a second later, an outrush of foul-smelling gases and heat that slammed the guard to the floor beside them. Berenike struggled to her knees, felt her daughter's arms and legs and belly and head until she was shoved aside. Evrim's face was lined with shock and anger, but not pain. "Stay still," Berenike said, though she knew Evrim was as deafened as she was. Adrenaline pounded through her body, shaking her limbs and turning the constricting robe into a trap. No, she had no time for panic. Berenike blinked 3 times. The action triggered a conditioned flood of calm that washed through her body and left her alert and controlled. Her ears still rung, but time would take care of that. She took in her surroundings. The walls of the hallway had creased into viridian fracture lines, but there were no tears Berenike could see. The air stank of wet smoke that hung in the hallway like mist. The guard lay beside them, staring up at the ceiling with the dazed but still living eyes. Berenike saw the beginnings of a bruise on her jaw and noted the crack in her gauntlet. She tried to shield herself and had instead knocked herself dizzy. Berenike stripped the robe from her body and left it in a heap on the floor. Her heightened awareness noted the damaged, flickering hollow flower, the shuddering floor beneath her feet, the wet carbon smell of burned plant material. The air was still good, with an oxygenated breeze still flowing over them. The atmospheric seal was still intact. Berenike knelt and took the weapons from the guard's belt. She kept the short baton, fashioned of stiff rattan ringed with bronze, the knife, the guard's service weapon with its razor-thin edge. She handed to Ephraim. Ephraim took it reflexively, her eyes widening. "I can't have this." The words were just barely audible. Berenike's hearing was beginning to come back. "I'm not allowed a blade." "Don't be a fool," she said, scanning the hall. A door across from them was half open, the plant stuff of the lily pad shocked into disorder. She smiled. It felt good to bare her teeth again after so long. "Look," she pointed at the door with the baton. "The doors are open." Ephraim stared at her, holding her knife as though it might bite her. "So what?" Berenike snatched Ephraim's elbow and hauled her to her feet. "If these doors are open, others may be as well." She guided Ephraim toward the outer edge of the lily pad, toward the shuttle docking ring, toward freedom. "Mother, stop!" Ephraim yanked herself free. The force of the movement caused her to stagger against a wall. "We have to get back to our quarters, to safety." She coughed into the back of her hand. Frustration tingled in Berenike's chest, the echo of what had to be an extreme emotional reaction to be felt through the spell she'd triggered. "We have not been safe for 10 years, Ephraim, but you have the chance to be safe now if you only take it." She held out her hand, a command and a plea. Understanding was chased by confusion. "Your oath!" "I swore to speak truth, to obey the Emperor, and to keep you safe. This," she hissed, gesturing at the smoky hallway, "is unsafe. The Emperor is not here to command me otherwise. I can get you to a shuttle." Ephraim shook her head, denial coming down like a curtain over her face. "No." Her daughter was shaken by the blast still, not herself, not capable of decision. "We are going. Now." She reached for Ephraim's wrist. "Get away from her!" A deep voice, a familiar one, bursting with anger and anticipation. Berenike crouched to put herself between Ephraim and the voice. She raised her baton. "Omer," she said. When Berenike first met Omer, she was on the run. He'd found her and her son Sirhan and Ephraim still unborn in her fetal vat. He'd taken them all in without a thought. He'd deferred to her. He'd helped raise Sirhan into a leader. The intervening years had not been kind to either of them. Omer's short hair had retreated to a fringe around his head, and the arching curves of his ears were as battered and bare of rings as hers. His midnight skin was duller, slacker, gathered into lines at the corners of his eyes and alongside his pursed mouth. He held a knife, half hidden in the folds of his robe. "Witch," he said simply. The reverence he'd once shown was gone, replaced with a well-honed bitterness. "Stand aside." He cocked his head, and 2 more figures turned the corner to stand with him. One held a spent launcher in the crook of their arm. It stank of explosive. Did he think to frighten her? He knew her better than that. She tilted her head toward the smoke. "Your work?" It was a bid for time. Those 2 figures might be the sum total of Omer's troop, but they could also be the vanguard. His acknowledging smile was hard as stone. "Our work," he agreed. No reinforcements yet. She took in the 2 elves with a glance, one empty-handed, the other encumbered with an empty weapon. Berenike stepped back until one bare heel touched flesh. Ephraim still huddled against the wall. Fingers touched the back of her arm, hesitant and chilled. The minuscule request for support, rare as sun in the rainy season, made Berenike swallow a lump in her throat. She brought her baton in front of her and left it to Omer to decide whether it was a gesture of surrender or defiance. "Past time, brother-in-arms," she said. Maybe a reminder of their past would take the bitterness from his expression. He deflected her overture with a grimace. We aren't here for you, witch. He gestured, and the two behind him flowed to the side, flanking them. We're here for the second prophet. And I'm afraid you'll have to get a copy of your own to find out what happens next. Be sure to sign up for the giveaway.
Thank you, Aimee. And that is a beautiful cover. Our second reader is Lauren C. Teffeau. Lauren C. Teffeau's environmental fantasy novella, A Hunger with No Name, released last fall from University of Tampa Press. Her novel, Implanted, from Angry Robot, a cyberpunk, solarpunk adventure, was shortlisted for the 2019 Compton Quick Award for Best First SF, Fantasy, or Horror Novel. She's published over 20 short stories in magazines and anthologies. Lauren, over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to get started with just the very beginning. I find the last water cache as the sun touches the horizon, painting the glass city far to the north, red and gold. The last person through the way station didn't set the marking stones properly, making it harder to find in the fading light, with the day's work weighing down my shoulders. Crouching, I keep my back to the glass city, only in part so its glow won't spoil my vision. Inside the dugout, 3 clay vessels are full of life-giving water. The 4th's been smashed, the braided reed stopper the only thing salvageable. I pluck it from the jagged shards and pull another vessel from my pack, already stoppered and tied loosely with twine. I nestle it with the others, insulate each one with dirt, then drape sticks and twigs over the hole before topping it over with more sandy dirt. The marking stones are the last step. 5 round stones, palm-sized, dark and smooth from handling, except for the constellations carved into each one to represent the cache's location relative to the stars. When I rise to my feet, Mother's walking the perimeter of our herd of lucerva, stamping their hooves, eager to be off. We have a long night of travel ahead of us if we want to reach Ostrava by morning. We placed a vessel in a cache to the southwest, I call to her. It didn't have the right markings either. She reaches my side and tisks. Lose your place in the stars, you lose more than your way. I fixed it. But why not mind our own water stores instead of refilling these caches? Others are never as careful. And it's been happening more and more frequently of late. Way stations are a traveler's only hope through the desert, she says. We respect those who've been through here before, and those who come after, by ensuring the caches are full lest we be the ones without next time. At the implied rebuke, I shrink into the thick lucerva fur lining my cloak. Mother nods to the nearest lucerva. We can always replace the vessel when we return to Ostrava, and the animal's birthing grounds. May you always afford to be so generous. Lucerva have been a friend to Ostravans for generations. I don't need to tell Mother how the herd grows smaller each year thanks to Nazoth attacks, and sick yinglings who never seem to gain their footing on the lean terrain. Outcomes surely writ in the stars, but that doesn't make their passing any easier to bear. Would that the world be as generous to us if the Lucerva continued to dwindle. Mother whistles to Rakivat. He returns a series of short tones from the back of the herd. As we march home under the cover of starlight, he'll keep an eye out for stragglers. From the east toward the front, Lenarv replies with a snippet from an old caravan song, its high-pitched tune, said to bring good luck and keep the sky clear of monsters. He and Mother will trade off leading the herd home. She waits a few minutes longer for the stars to brighten, secure in their place in the night sky, before she whistles again for us to be off. Tell me, what is that one? I follow the line of Mother's staff, pointing to a cluster of stars to the southeast, and swallow a burst of annoyance. The impulsive one, doomed to always seek and never find. She doesn't reward me with a smile or empty words of praise. Navigating the desert is much too important for that. And that one? This time it's a thin line of stars with 3 larger ones making a triangular point at the end. The laborer, of course, endless toil, rewarded only by their proximity to the joyful one. That's a constellation of 7 stars in a radiant spiral, immediately next to the shovel-shaped formation. Mother tests me until she's satisfied by my command of the constellations, needlessly because I make no mistakes, but perhaps she isn't doing it for my sake. The stars seem fit to shine down on us this last night of the grays, she finally says. No clouds in the sky. The air so crisp it burns my lungs with each inhale. At least there's that. Even though it doesn't seem like the stars have seen fit to bless much else of our grays, the months we spend traveling the desert so our herd goes into the birthing season as healthy as possible. Too little VTAV, the quick-growing creepers that sprout from a river running deep underground, and hardly any surface lichen covering stones and grubby tree trunks that the Lucerva's thick tongues strip bare, turning their thin frames bulky for our return to Ostrava. Mother Staff thunks beside me, sinking into the sandy ground with each dirt. What troubles you, little one? I don't know how to answer. A sense of futility seems to cloud our work with the animals, the work of Mother's mother and her mother before her. From a young age, I've known how to shear their bristly coats, clean their clawed hooves, and apply salve created from the VTAV we collect to protect their skin during the days of long sun. Mother did not teach me how to watch them die. That was something we learned together, as the lands of our people traveled for generations, continued to wither up around us, leaving us stranded along the barren wastes with only the glass city shining in the distance. But voicing my concerns feels wrong. I'm grateful even. The herd will finish out this season well enough, but what about the next one? One bad breeding season and... Mother remains quiet. So long, I nearly give up hope of a response. You see much, little one, she finally says. I hope to keep such possibilities from you a little longer, but there's no cause for worry. Things may yet turn around. Once, the stars were richer, more numerous than they are now. So many, it was hard to keep track of them all. Over time they faded, some gone in the blink of an eye. Others blazed furiously, filling the sky with the heat of their indignation. But their waning made room in the sky for the stars that remained to shine to their fullest, the very stars that have guided our people for generations. I know the rest. How once our people weren't confined to navigate the stars by foot. They created vessels that flew through the air, floating over dunes and scrub, eyes always to the sky, along with other marvelous things. But then, as always, war cast them across the world like seeds carelessly strewn to sprout where they landed. Some groups survived the great scatter, some didn't, but all struggled to rebuild what they once had. Our people have been earthbound ever since. We tamed a Lucerva, and now we travel the desert and trade with the clans of the Carnez to the south. But anything else beyond that is out of reach, including the stars. Yet we're merely surviving. How can you call this shining to the fullest? Mother hisses. Her face is hidden by her rough-spun scarf, but I can imagine her expression. A tightening of the delicate skin around her dark brown eyes and mouth, the determined jut of her pointed chin. And sometimes, Mother goes on stubbornly, picking back up the thread of her story, the stars burned so brightly, for so long, we couldn't tell that they were fading. So slow, so steady their decline, we didn't notice until they were gone. We all have a choice, Therava, to give up, to destroy, or to go on the best we can. Ostravans have always tried to be the slow-dying star. May you never live to see its end. But even if you do, we do not turn aside. We do not turn away. We bear witness and respect to all that has come before. Yes, Mother. So thoroughly chastened, it's the only thing I can say. Our future is written in the stars. All that's left is for us to live it. And so that was the opening scene of my new novella. It is a chunky novella. It is right at the limit, but I hope you'll take a look and enter the giveaway for a free e-copy. So thanks again.
Thank you, Lauren. Very, very lovely. Our third reader is Lauren Bolger. Lauren Bolger writes horror and loves anything supernatural. She's an avid music fan and amateur drummer. She lives in a town in Illinois that nobody has heard of, with her husband, 2 kids, and 2 cats. Lauren, it's yours.
Okay, I'm off mute. Hey, y'all. I am reading from my book, The Berry Incidents, as you can see on the screen, out October 1st with Malarkey Books. It is up for pre-order now on Malarkey's website. and I will be sharing the start of chapter 11 for this reading. In the story, since Kara lost her father, her hometown has grown weirder for her by the minute. This is the point in the book where Kara learns she is actively being followed. So, chapter 11, Cold at the Station. Kara jammed the spout into the tank and squeezed the handle, trying to decide whether to wait in the car or outside. The gas station was completely deserted. It was cold, it was late, and she was dead tired. Today had been a normal day at work. A busy double shift, but normal. She needed that. Alec had been normal. She'd driven him to and from work without a single comment or a weird look. Saint that she was. They'd laughed. They'd joked. They'd eaten good food together on their break. The wind picked up, a sudden gust with sharp, frosty edges, gentle at first, then strong. It flipped her hair up and over, undoing her part. Kara muttered a few obscenities, wrapping her dad's green jacket more tightly around herself. Her other jacket had a hood on it, and this didn't. She made a mental note to wear a hoodie under it from now on. "I'll wait in the car then," she mumbled. Head down, she circled behind the car. As soon as she reached the back passenger door, she heard the front door clunk open. Quickly, she ducked down below the back window and froze, craning her neck, listening. A shuffling followed, and her blood ran cold. Something soft bumped against the open driver's side door. "Someone is stealing your car," she thought. "Nobody near here's awake, and someone is stealing your fucking car. What are you going to do?" She backed up a few steps, blood careening through her temples. She turned and banged her hip against a plastic garbage can. Her stomach flopped like a beached fish. There was no pain, but she startled herself and was terrified she'd told the intruder how nearby she was. Kara sucked in a silent breath. The shuffling continued, much louder than the noise she'd just made. They must not have heard her. She crouched, then crawled silently forward, ducking down next to the back tire. Her mind raced. The sound continued as if nothing had happened. Shuffling, bumping. What were they doing? If they were going to steal the thing, they would have started the car by now. Her blood thickened. Terror mixed with anger. Her breathing came quiet and heavy. She lifted her head carefully so she could just see over the trunk and through the back windshield. Her eyes pricked with fear. No. It was hunched over. It was huge. It seemed like if it stood up straight, it would be at least 3 heads taller than the car, and its shoulders were a weird shape, like they came up unnaturally high and arched forward. She squinted. No, not shoulders. They looked like folded wings. The longer she looked, the more she was sure those fuckers were wings. Kara ducked again and moved low and fast as she could away from the car. She raced toward the pump, her mind shouting nonsense. A bird. A bird! What bird was that big? She reached the pump and grabbed the cement pillar, wrenched her body around it, and hid on the other side, face cold against the metal brace. God, it's the size of a person. No, bigger. And it's a bird. My God. The shuffling stopped. Kara took a sharp breath and listened, readied herself to back away and keep running. Where was it? 2 steps, 2 awful steps, little tack-tack sounds against the concrete ground. Talons the size of what? They're just big, she thought, trying her best not to picture them. She wanted to back away further, but if she went too far, the gas pump wouldn't be hiding her anymore. She couldn't bear the thought of the thing seeing her. 2 more steps. She couldn't stand it anymore. It could be coming around back the way she had come, coming to get her. She looked quickly around the pump. 2 glowing red eyes pointed right at her, rent her free from reality. The thing took 2 massive steps around to the front of the car. It jumped and landed on the hood, puncturing the night with a loud crunch of metal. It stared at her for a fraction of a second, then leapt, straight up into the godforsaken sky like a helicopter. It didn't even flap its wings. "Son of a bitch," was all Kara could say. "You're getting it wrong." A deep voice spoke loudly, clearly from behind her. A man stood across the street, watching her, fully unperturbed by the giant owl-man beast that had been there a second ago. "Excuse me? Are you talking to me?" Kara shouted. "If you are, I wonder why you might be standing there offering your opinion, when you didn't bother to help me with that creature that looked about to eat me just now." Her heart was slamming in her chest. The man just stared. I'm sorry. She was shaking everywhere, her arms, her legs, everywhere. Did you not see it? Was it hiding behind one of these little gas station pillars? I was attempting to start a conversation. Kara focused harder on the figure and stiffened. He was grinning at her, the corners of his mouth extended sharply up to mid-cheek, violently unnatural, as though the lips were held up by clothespins. You were born in a place where the light is bent, wrenched crooked until it fashions a shape. What's that now? Maybe she was distorting his face with her mind. She was tired. It was dark. He was far away, but why did he speak this way? Some people hung around the front of this gas station sometimes, but she'd never seen this guy before. A triangle with 3 points. A vortex. What's a vortex? A triangle. Oh, forget this conversation. Okay, hey, I'm sorry. I've got to leave. Nice to meet you, though. She turned to go. The ring of your father's, he said. My father's ring? Wait. What ring? She tested him. Her blood crashed heavily through her. The snake eating its tail. That is a circle. She gasped. Her breath came quickly. What about the ring? You dropped it. It is on the floor of the seat next to yours. That is what the Mothman was trying to take. In closing, just a reminder, you can pre-order the Barry Incidents on the Malarkey website, malarkeybooks.com. Also, I am participating in the giveaway tonight. I'm giving away a signed copy of my debut novel, Kill Radio, since the new one is not out yet, and there will be stickers. So thanks for listening.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Lauren. Few people aren't going to sleep tonight. Our fourth reader is Aimee Dumars. Aimee Dumars resides in her hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana. She writes about small town experiences and the people who create intriguing communities. Through the challenges faced by diverse characters, she explores the brave relationships they form in societies influenced by stereotypes, belief, sexual stigmas, and ethnic bias. Aimee, take it away.
The small scout ship felt nearly claustrophobic with the hostility bubbling between Nedra and Solera. Nedra conceded that she should have informed Solera of the fact that they were rescuing a prisoner, and more importantly, that the prisoner was her current love interest. However, she knew that it was less important now that the rescue had been successful. Solera did not feel as certain of the success, as her ship was now damaged and they exceeded the maximum weight of cargo with so many passengers, a load it was not intended to carry. Janae huddled in the back of the ship with her son Corbin curled in her lap. She did not take part in the argument, knew it was best to remain silent. She was grateful for being rescued and for being reunited with her son. She also knew that the hardest part of this battle was before them. Once they landed back on Duronis, Janae knew the security agents would be waiting to take their freedom away again. They would have to be careful to avoid capture. She hoped she could contact Mr. Oren for help. For all his stoicism, she knew he would be willing to help them in their time of need. They would not be able to go to their homes. Even the pilot may have been identified by now. Janae thought about who she knew that could hide them. She remembered there used to be a secret society known only to empaths. She had heard Corbin's father mention them, instructing her to contact them upon her arrival on Duronis. When she had landed, they were already waiting for her and had taken her to a compound, a safe house within the city. That had been so long ago. Perhaps she could find it again. They could hide there until she figured out something better. Janae could sense when the ship pulled closer to the planet. The tension radiating from the driver was palpable. However, Janae felt something else. Corbin felt it too. He sat up and pushed away from his mother, standing up in the low bowels of the ship to listen. He looked at his mother, and then they both yelled to the pilot to take off quickly. But startled and late to respond, Solera slammed the ship to a full stop, then zipped away from the surface of her docking pad. Blasters clipped the edge of her ship as she pulled out of range. Nedra stared hard at her in surprise. Well, that answers the question of whether we can land at my hangar or not. You seriously thought your place would be a good idea to land after a prison break? Really? Well, I didn't exactly hear you making any suggestions, Hotshot. I suppose you keep a posh place for a girl to land her ship for a quick rendezvous. Do tell. No, I don't. No need to be rude. I knew we couldn't go to your place, though. You should have known the agents would be watching and waiting for us there. Technically, they aren't waiting for me. So yeah, I thought I could go home. Nedra was begrudgingly silenced by that comment. She didn't have any better idea either. She dropped her head in her hands, squeezing back angry tears. She had not thought this plan all the way through. Janae looked to Corbin, and he nodded his head. He had heard it too. They needed to move expeditiously. The rendezvous spot would not be clear for long. Janae turned and addressed the pilot. There is a place we could dock the ship if we hurry. There are people waiting for us at the Intergalactic Space Station. Bay 7 is being held for your ship. What? Nonsense. Why the hell would I go to a major transport station? It should be swarming with agents by now. It was earlier, but some empaths have taken it over and are keeping it clear for our arrival. Not exactly reading minds, but making suggestions that there is a ship there that the agents already inspected. When your ship docks, no one will notice, except our allies. Solera peered at Janae in astonishment. How could she not know the woman and child were empaths? Her emotions cycled from wonder to distrust to excitement. Scathingly brilliant idea. Hide in plain sight. I love it. Off we go then. Solera turned the ship and zipped toward the intergalactic station. She was over the anger of Nedra's miscommunication. She loved a challenge, and this certainly would be one. She was now a fugitive from the law, along with her guests. This would boost her fees for travel and export from now on. A win-win if they survived this. Janae and Corbin sat close together in the cargo hold, their eyes closed, ears twitching. They seemed to be in deep concentration, as if listening to something faint. They were in communication with a very powerful empath at the station. The message they received instructed them to remain calm. Their safe passage to the council would be guaranteed. Janae sighed softly in relief, though she did not let her guard down. She was still a mother, concerned for her child. She knew the agents would love to get their hands on Corbin now that they knew about him. The small scout ship made its way to the intergalactic docking station, found the designated bay, and docked easily. Solera, the pilot, waited, holding her breath, anticipating trouble, her hand on her weapon. There came a knock, and she opened the ship portal. Corbin leaped out the door and into the waiting arms of his teacher, Injapir. Beside her stood a muscular young man. He introduced himself as Shergadin. Janae nodded to him in recognition as the empath who guided them. She took his offered hand to exit the ship. Nedra and Solera followed. The small entourage hurried through the bay to the closest exit into the city. They walked unharassed, Inja and Janae each holding Corbin's small hands. He seemed familiar with the route they were taking. They soon found themselves in a cramped alleyway leading to the back of a house. They climbed the metal stairs to the second floor of the camelback house. Waiting for them in a light, airy room sat a large-sized man drinking tea and eating scones. Paul, the leader of the local faction of the Remnant, welcomed them and asked them to join him in the chairs set around the wrought iron table. Solara chuckled to herself at the madness of it all and did not hesitate to help herself to the tea and scones. Nedra was grateful the tension between them seemed to have dissipated. Janae sat close to Corbin, a little jealous of his affection for his teacher in Japir. Shergadin excused himself from the room. They each accepted the cups of tea and quietly ate their scones. Paul broke the silence.
Aimee, thank you so much. Our final reader is Kay Malady. Kay has roots in the Midwest, splitting her time between Oklahoma and Arkansas. Kay is someone who never sits still and is happiest when she's busy, particularly when writing multiple romantic fantasy stories. Kay works as an attorney and writes on her off hours. When she's not spending time with her family or writing, she indulges in way too many hobbies. Kay, take it away.
Thank you. Thalia is the magical heir to her island, a descendant of Athena, and burdened by expectations of leadership. However, the selection for the collection looms. From chapter 4. When night falls, I can't sleep. I leave my house before I can second guess it, my rain cloak held over my head like a blanket. It isn't sneaking out. A grown woman can't sneak out of her own home. But I haven't left my bed in the night since before my majority, when Lucas convinced me to leap into the ocean in my night clothes as a dare. The flat stone pathway reflects the light of the moon peeking behind the rain clouds as I walk to Lucas's house. The worst of the storm is over, but not in my heart. As my best friend, Lucas can quiet the thunder within, that churning feeling of guilt and unease I can't explain. The second counselor's house is behind ours, but the distance between them is as long as a tree is tall. The walk is solitary, though there are at least 4 guards hidden in the brush bisecting the path. I've learned to ignore them, and their presence is almost seamless in the surroundings. Quiet voices reach me before I arrive at Lucas's window. I duck into the underbrush and place my illusion, shuffling until I'm no longer next to a guard. Apparently adulthood doesn't remove the instinct to avoid getting caught. Crouching uncomfortably, I peer through the openings in the brambles. 2 people take cover at the base of the tree. They hold each other, closer than anyone has ever held me. My status as heir means no potential scandals, so I've never started out. Lucas would be my only choice, but his teasing jokes were never serious. And they were only jokes, as he has never attempted to embrace me as he does Nefel now. You'll be fine, Neff, I promise. Lucas's voice sounds strained. You can't promise that. He presses her closer. I'll make it happen. I've the ear of the council, you know that. I can't lose you. I love you. Something pierces the space between my ribs. I can't tell if it's rejection, the ultimate proof that Lucas didn't want me, that I wasn't his choice, or sympathy for my friend, whose choice may be taken from him. His reaction during lunch yesterday, his pained expressions, the bleakness that fell over him when we discussed who might be collected, his anger at the council meeting. Yet again, I'm reminded that the collection takes more than just one woman. We'll leave, Lucas continues. Tomorrow before sunrise, we'll quit the island. We can start over at one of the outlying settlements on another island. Nefel snorts, a derisive echo of the one I made at Lyra not 2 days earlier. But hers sounds soft and feminine, pained. What about Thalia, Lucas? You're betrothed? She'll come with us. His immediate response lessens the throbbing still attacking my chest. Lucas tightens his arms around Nefel's lithe frame. She isn't wearing a nightdress and cloak like I am, but a tight robe that's painted on her form from the damp. She spent 11 years preparing for the collection, honing her body instead of her mind, and she looks beautiful in his arms. What a happy family we'll make. You, your wife, your mistress? No. Lucas snarls the word, frightening a bird into abandoning the tree. My eyes close to trap the moisture threatening to break free. The scene they make must rivet the guards, their very own dramatic theater. If I showed myself, I could become the villain in the second act. Thalia, Lucas says, sounding frustrated, we wouldn't need to marry if we left. The words painful truth now have meaning. I can't begrudge his happiness, neither of us chose each other. But Lucas's sunshine and charm, I might have chosen him if allowed. My secret ideas of a happy future, quiet nights reading together, grumbling about our political positions, laughing in bed, Lucas holding me like he's holding a fell. I'll drown in the ocean. She should be taken for the collection. It would solve every problem we have. He remains quiet, hopefully in as much shock as I am, and not because he's considering it. My heart nearly stops beating as I await his reaction. A large part of me wants to leap through these bushes and shake Nefel until her teeth rattle, to berate her for such small thinking. But another part, one stung by the raindrops landing on my skin, wants to tell them that things will be better, somehow. Never suggest that again, Lucas finally says, voice hard. I will not sacrifice one of you for the other. Thalia is my best friend, my future. Don't resent what we were born for. A few tears break free without my consent. I wipe them away before they might hear any sniveling. You're right, I didn't mean it, she says. I'm just scared, Lucas. They hold each other tight, and then the only sounds coming from them are sighs and soft exclamations. I slink away, hidden by the illusion, back to my solitary home. Morning comes, and I follow the phantom footsteps of my father to the council house, where the councillors will decide the fate of at least one woman. Yesterday's rain still threatens the village, an oppressive energy that drags me through the 30-minute walk. Something is rooted in my soul, growing not like a tree, but like a slowly building tidal wave, one that destroys villages when it crashes to the sand. Here, there is no chance it will disperse before ravaging the beach. At least the beach in this simile is only my life, not my people, not Lucas's future. It's early enough that the few fanatics who wait in the antechamber and the opportunists who bet on the choice haven't yet arrived. The meeting room is modestly sized with a low ceiling supported by austere columns. In a recessed alcove, a wooden shelf houses a modest collection of scrolls, as this room is normally for internal council meeting only and not open to the public. But with so few women this year, the usual pomp isn't needed. Only the eligible women, their immediate family, and the councillors attend the selection. The council sits crowded along a long table at the far end of the room, weathered by years of use. A small statuette of Athena stands behind them as a silent guardian, watching over the proceedings with a stoic gaze. Mismatched wooden chairs rest haphazardly around the open space, each filled with one of the attendees. Nefel sits closest to the door, one hand clutching her older sister's leg, the other her father's hand. He remarried after his first wife, Nefel's mother, died birthing her. But any children he had with his new wife don't count for Nefel's line. She will always be the youngest. Lucas will always have to fear for her safety, assuming she makes it through 3 more collections unchosen. Her frame trembles and shiny tear tracks run down her face. Well, Nefel has the least to lose, says Magda. She rules over the small province of Bay and is newly appointed. My father clears his throat, a frown marring his face. We do not consider the collection in such a negative light, Councillor Magda. The words, not publicly, hover around the room. Magda doesn't notice the slight twitch in his eyes that warns her from continuing. She has only her sister and father to leave behind. Surely that should be a marker in her favor. Losses are not considered, Magda. I will not repeat it. Father gave. Blood does not make a family. I know you love your siblings as much as I love my daughter. That's as good as cue as I'll get. I allow myself one deep breath, as a small part of me wonders that I should maybe abandon my poorly devised plan. But the thunder sounds outside the walls, and like a bolt to my chest, my resolve hardens. I stand and maneuver around the chairs to the front. I'd like to present, I announce, my mask in place. The councillors look confused. Some of them haven't heard my voice unless it's a whisper in Father's ear. Only Father realizes why I'm there. His face, the one I inherited, pales. Val, don't. The words are quiet, whispered, but I can hear it like he's shouting. My steps falter at the nickname, but I don't stop. I wish to be collected. And I am giving away a copy of this book along with some swag.
Ooh, I wish to be collected. Thank you. Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you so much as well to everyone who came today.